I need a Miller Lite.
That's our newest drop here at the DLS Dallas Stars podcast, pregame show, postgame show. Today, we're pre and post guys. And look who's back. Sam. He's alive. We didn't tie him up and hide him in a closet, I promise you. We didn't leave him in New Jersey, although those drones are chasing you these days out there.
They are.
So let's get to it. Luds, Sam, John, me. Right now, Stars and Caps.
I need a Miller Lite. Blue game.
Talking about the weather because it's rainy in Dallas. This is the DLS Dallas Stars pregame show ahead of the Washington Capitals for their annual visit to American Airlines Center. Alongside Sam Nessler, Craig Ledwig, and our producer John Anderson, I'm Owen Newkirk. Thanks for joining us tonight. We have a rainy afternoon and evening, and it looks like it might rain a little bit between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. Luds. But then we're supposed to have sunshine tomorrow. So maybe you'll get a chance to finish your deck.
Why you tune in here? We got the weather up here. We got the Stars game going on.
We got news.
Up
we got pop culture.
Talking about drones before you get going.
I mean, sports. Let's talk sports. Sam, you're back. What's the latest going on over at American Airlines Center today?
Yeah, a lot of people sick. This flu season, as the thumbnail showed, is definitely hitting this team. We know Nils Lundkvist was out with the flu. We know Casey DeSmith was the first one, at least that we know of, to go down. Now Thomas Harley seems to be fighting it. He'll be a game time decision tonight. I believe Lundkvist, he said, seems like he should be ready, but also he did say he might be a game time decision. There might be a few other game time decisions. So it'll just be interesting to see what players are healthy and healthy enough to play, what players aren't, and what players can fight through whatever they might have going on to get a big win tonight.
It would be really a problem if the Stars have two defensemen that can't play, because they only have one backup, and that's Brendan Smith. Matt Dumba didn't skate this morning. He's not ready. You'd assume that you'd have to see him at least in one practice before he comes back from his upper body injury. So as it stands right now, you hope Nils can play, because there's no guarantee that Harley will skate. We'll find out in a few minutes. But it looked like Nils is back in. Now, Luds, not yesterday. What day is this? Today's Monday. So Saturday, the game against St. Louis, I sat with Nils right like this next to him in his stall.
Awesome.
And I talked to him for like a good 5 minutes.
Okay, good.
No. Hold on. He was fine, or seemed fine. He said it came on later in the day.
Okay.
I'm not going to get you sick. You were the one. By the way, this is the guy who's been sneezing and coughing and saying it's allergies for about 4 months.
But that's
here.
not contagious, you know?
Well, he says that, but...
He needs some milk.
But Sam, he seemed fine on Saturday, and then he didn't show up for the warm-up, and we all thought he was playing. So you hope that doesn't happen to another Stars player, because they're going through it right now.
Yeah, they'd be in trouble. You're absolutely right. They don't have enough guys for this right now, which is why I'm a little surprised maybe they didn't call up an extra guy just for the week, just knowing when they have 3 games. They have, as of right now, they have practice scheduled every single off day, which I'll be shocked if they do all 3 of those practices this week. That would be a 6-day week for this team going through the flu in a very tough part of the season. So that would surprise me. But yeah, they don't have a whole lot of wiggle room, right? And the funny thing is that when I saw Nils today, he was first on the ice at morning skate. And I said to Robert, I said, hey, whatever they have for people that are sick, we need to get some, especially me. Because they to come back from what was a bad enough flu to not play on Saturday to being first on the ice and looking 100% healthy Monday morning at morning skate, that's a pretty quick turnaround. So the hope is that the point of that is the hope is that whatever this is when it does hit, it's quick because Casey Smith was able to come back somewhat quickly. Lundkvist looks like he's ready to come back. So that's the only positive you can take out of this is if someone does go down, maybe it's only a game, 24 hours, 48 hours that it affects them. But we might see some guys called up this week. I'd be surprised if there weren't a few new faces in the lineup or at least around the team.
No doubt, Luds, that in your long NHL career, you both had and played through stuff and had teammates that were dealing with viruses and illnesses that would, rip through the team on the buses, on the planes. You're so close to each other and then you're on the bench puffing and puffing. There's no way to avoid cross-contamination.
Even other players on other teams, during the course of the game. So, but you know what? It's funny. Not many guys ever miss games, because of sickness. You kind of battle through, and like I said before, you never really want to take a game off, anyways. But I think when you're down a little bit, even when you have an injury that isn't something that it's mandatory that you stay out, you seem to dig down a little bit more, to make sure that you find a way to make it through that game. And then, and what'll happen is, whoever that may be, and let's just say it is Thomas, and they'll probably tell him to, if he plays tonight, they may just tell him to stay at home tomorrow, try to recover 24 hours later.
Well, Sam, we do see Casey DeSmith back with the team. He was completely away from the team on Friday and Saturday. That's good news. Obviously, Jake Oettinger is starting, but we did see, this isn't an illness-related thing, a NHL living legend not playing, but he did travel and practice with them today, which is a step in the right direction.
Yeah. What's funny? I was thinking about the Jake Oettinger. I'm curious. Random question: Luds or Owen? Remember when Pete talked about the goal for Jake Oettinger, right? To play 50, 55 games. Does it feel like they're on pace for that right now?
Well,
or does it feel like Jake is getting a lot of starts, and obviously the last couple were mandatory, but I feel like he's in the net every night, and this is now 6 in a row, I believe.
Yep, this will be a sixth straight start.
Is that something we should be looking at and worrying about, or is that just the way this schedule has been going?
Not me. I think the plan is 55 games is bunk. Like if he's feeling good and he's getting the proper rest in between, I think you have to monitor the type of game. When you look at some of the underlying stats or numbers you want to call it, Dallas does a good job in their own zone when it comes to giving up quality chances and things like that. When they give them up, they give them up. So if there's not a lot of action going on around him, and 3-4 times, maybe 5 a game where he's got to make that unbelievable scramble, try to make that save, and the rest of the game is fairly manageable for him. He's got some guys back there. You never really see him wander far away from the net. You don't see him try to make this Marty Turco type of pass. He just bumps it to one of the defensemen. He gets back in the net, and then they just kind of scurry down the ice. So I think some of the games, I think they take that into account. That some of the games that Jake has played, it was pretty light workload.
Do you remember how many shots on goal he faced on Saturday against the Blues?
Wasn't it in the 22, 21?
Oh, it was 16.
16.
15 saves, 16 shots in the win over St. Louis. He's only had a handful of shot totals faced at 30 or higher. Remember, he faced 36 and 34 in the first 2 games of the season at Nashville and then against the Islanders. And after that, I'm only seeing like 30-plus shots against. To your point, he's not being overly attacked. I can't imagine Jake Oettinger got done with the Blues game, although it was an intense game and you had to be dialed in. But physically, that could not have been the hardest game he's played in his career.
Well, but Sam, do you think a little bit of Jake playing today is because Casey is coming back from the flu, and it wasn't a heavy workload last game?
It's probably part of it, but I forget who said it this morning. Someone made a point. In the NHL, when a player returns, it usually means they're good to go, right? I highly doubt they bring Casey DeSmith back and make him dress if he's not ready to play in this game, because if Jake was to go down or something was to happen and they needed him, they're going to have to throw him in anyway. So in my opinion, if he's ready to start and this is the planned start, he would have started. That's just how I think of it. But I'm with you, Lutz. That's why I asked the question, because there's two sides to it, right? Nobody wants to see Jake Oettinger get tired or get hurt in the playoffs or later down the season, which we've seen the last couple of years. But you're right. You look at the games he's playing, and he's not overly taxed. He's not overly worked. He's not stopping 40 shots. At times, he's been a little bit bored back there and had to kind of watch his team push which is a good thing. We're not complaining about that, right? Especially as a goalie. But back to Owen's point, I think there's one guy that he's certainly happy he's not facing. And if you saw, I posted on Twitter this morning, Ovechkin was out there in the light blue no contact jersey, which light blue looks real nice with the
A little
Capitals
powder blue
uniforms.
for the injury
Yeah.
jersey today.
I like it, but he was pounding one-timers in morning skate today. So I know he's getting close. That's pretty much all he has to do, right? In order to come back is just be able to shoot that shot, get back on side, and do it over again. But it was cool to see that this morning.
You know, sometimes I look and I look at the couple of teams that, you know, where Winnipeg and Minnesota are in the standings. You know, and if you look at just those little numbers, and it's like, gee, that's getting a little far ahead right there. And, you know, not that you're not going to catch them and you know, and you're chasing them, but you come off a relative easy game and guy comes back from the flu and you're playing a really good team tonight. You know, let's take our best guy and he seems to be fine. Throw him in there because you don't really need the points. And then also you have the guys behind you in your rearview mirror. Colorado seems to be getting it going.
Yeah, and you don't want to get behind the peloton, not the bike, but the group of bikes, right? You don't that lead group, the ones that you want to be in the pack. Out of front of it is even better, but you want to be in that pack that's going toward a playoff spot. If you start dropping back and you have to exert all your energy just to catch it, sometimes it works, right? Remember the LA Kings snuck in, hit it at the right time, off they go, they win a cup. That's great, but most teams that are the 8 seed don't have that fate.
Yeah, and you don't want to have to kind of pull all the stops out as you get into your last 20 games in the season, and when you would like to maybe take a couple guys and give them a rest if you could here and there. So, you know, and you can, if you've got a spot cemented, so to speak, you might find some time where a couple of these older guys can, you know, get a game off here and there.
Sam, the Capitals have not lost a game in a while. They're riding a 9-game point streak, and they've won 10 straight on the road. They have the league's best road record in the NHL, and the Stars have the best home points percentage. As Spencer Carberry even brought up today, he said, well, they lost one in Finland to Florida, so that doesn't count. This team has the best record at home in the league. So you've got best home versus best road facing off for the second time this year, but without Ovechkin.
Yeah, it's no surprise that they are as good as they are on the road either. I'm sure Lutz loves watching this team play. I just watched a few of their recent games today and yesterday, and they play simple hockey, man. I think 90% of their goals are scored right around the net, either a tip-in or a rebound. Chychrun and Carlson are great at either getting shots through or finding that stick in the slot or to the side of the net for those deflections. They just play super simple. They bury it in deep, they cycle, and they throw it to the net, and then they go after it. And that's what worries me about tonight. It's kind of like the home and away. Something's got to give, right? Well, something's got to give here. We got the Stars who are struggling sometimes playing in front of the net, as Lutz has highlighted, and the Capitals, who are one of the better teams I've seen playing in front of the net. So tonight, who steps up? Do the Capitals keep rolling and push them around a little bit? Does big number 6 for Dallas help that a little bit? That's going to be an internal battle that I'm really excited to watch.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Sam, you know, I went back and looked at the game that Dallas had played and took a couple of those examples on a couple of the goals that they scored, and here's one of them with
this was Dylan Strome's goal.
Yeah, this is Strome with Protas, you know, planted in front of the net.
Look at that monster. Protas is a huge guy.
But now where the problem may come in is if you do have big number 6 there. Look at where Casey's looking right now. He's looking over his right shoulder. You can't really see the dot on it. The puck is just behind. Who is that? I don't know if that's Blackwell.
I think it's
Blackwell.
I
think it's just behind Blackwell, and Casey's kind of looking to the other way. But anyway, this is how they scored one of their goals, and this is the other goal from Radish. And it's the same kind of situation. Casey's looking over here, and the puck ends up going the other way. But the reason I have these out here, this is how they play. It's exactly what Sam is talking about, and I'm glad you brought up, you know, Lian, because, you know, if Bichsel is going to be out there and this is the kind of style they play, this will be a great test for him. And there's going to be times where he'll have to make that decision. Let's just say it's Protas. If he gets his feet on top of the crease, now he's going to have to probably step in front of him and try to block that shot instead of even pushing Jake even further back. So it'll be a good test for him tonight.
Agreed.
Thanks, Sam.
I love it.
Dynamite drop in. I love it. Well,
I love it.
warm up is starting,
Got a
so
lot of love
we'll
going on
bid
here.
you adieu, but
You guys
we'll
are
get you
loving a
back
lot.
for the post game.
Get ready, boy.
So I want to ask you a follow up. I was going to let Sam comment, and then he said, "Yeah, I agree. That was great television." So let's
I think the lines were coming.
That's
out
what
in
we
his
do here.
defense.
think about this though, Luds. That was against Casey DeSmith. And all
Yep.
due respect to Casey DeSmith, Jake Oettinger is a much taller goalie. How does that change
Well,
what we just saw?
What Jake will do, he'll stand up.
And he can look over that.
Well, I don't know if he can look over Protas and Bichsel, but you know what? Again, that would be the challenge depending on who Bichsel or whoever it is in front is against. But Jake is at his size. He kind of stands up more and he looks over his left and looks to the right. So I think that's a bit of an advantage to him. But you know, we'll see. The whole thing about that is for me as a defenseman, and when pucks get out to the point to the opponent, and it comes from down low to high, as a defenseman, you want to meet that forward before he even gets to the crease area. You want to kind of meet him before he even gets to the close post so that he can't get to the front of the net. Because the way the game is played and as fast as guys are, when that defenseman gets that puck at the point, he's only got a second or two to get it off because there's already somebody going to him. So you're just trying to get there so you can kind of stop the momentum of the player that's coming to the front of the net enough that your goaltender can get a piece of the puck or at least get his eyes on it.
So the Caps, I mentioned the franchise record. They've won 10 straight road games. They actually lost a couple of games back to back. The last time they lost on the road was November 3rd at Carolina. They lost at Tampa right before that. They have scored 5 or more goals, Luds, in 6 of their last 10 road games. All those wins, their goal differential in that franchise record 10-game winning streak on the road, plus 27. They've scored 48 goals. That means 4.8 average a game, and they've given up only 21. So when you're averaging almost plus 3 a game, you're going to win a lot of hockey games.
Yeah, but they're going exactly what Sam said. They're one of the top teams that are getting shots from the high danger area. In other words, right in front of the goaltender, which means that the goaltenders are making the save, but they're finding ways to box the defenseman that's supposed to box them out. They're getting the second and third opportunity, or they're just basically taking the eyes away. So it's a great trait. I think that this team has taken on where they're not trying to score from the perimeter and things like that. And they've got some weight. They got some big guys on that team. So it's a good test for any group of defensemen, but we'll see what this group can do tonight.
Not only has the Capitals as a team been so good on the road, but they've been good overall. They have the best record in the Eastern Conference, and they are not first on points in the league, but they are on point percentage because they have some games in hand on Winnipeg, and they have a 759 point percentage. So they're averaging about 76% of the points that they have a chance to earn, and they are riding a 9-game point streak. They are 8-0-1 in their last games overall. They've just been playing really good hockey, and they've been doing it without Alexander Ovechkin, who's been out for 11 games now. And I looked at some numbers on that, Luds. They obviously have been winning hockey. They lost their first 2 games when Ovi got hurt. Since then, they haven't lost in regulation. They're 8-0-1. And since the injury, their power play's at 32%. Penalty kill is 77. It's not great. They are doing fine without him. I asked, so I'm really good friends with their radio broadcaster, John Walton. He and I have known each other for years. He was in Hershey when I was in Albany in the AHL. And I said, we've had this conversation on our show about, if Ovi comes back, does that lead to the distraction of chasing the goals race? Because right when he got hurt, my friend John, their radio guy, said, we were just starting to think we might start to see the national media start following us around. And then he goes down with that injury. And he said, no, it's not going to be a distraction. He goes, this team seems to rally around Ovechkin. He said when he was chasing his 800th goal, instead of being a distraction, it seemed to make them play better as a team.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, well, it's not good for the opponents.
But it's not as much of a distraction as you suggested it could be.
And the one thing about Ovechkin, he kind of falls into this identity because he's not a perimeter player.
No.
I mean, even at his age, we've seen him. He's always been that bull in the china shop. I mean, I remember when he first started playing, I couldn't believe how many guys he just ran over. I mean, he's running guys over all the time, and you kind of go, dude can score goals. Like, is his body going to hold up? And it sure has. I mean, he's never been out.
You know what's funny is as you're talking about that, I pictured Ovechkin and how his feet were always moving.
Yeah.
his feet move like Logan Stankoven. The difference is he's a monster human being versus Logan, who's a more diminutive figure. And you think about, you take the engine and the work rate of a Stankoven and you put it in the body of Ovechkin.
Yep.
And that's just a terrifying power forward.
Well, and the difference is in the skating stride. Ovechkin's feet are wider. Like, he's got a wide base when he comes in. It's almost like he shuffles coming up the ice. Like, it's almost funny to watch him skate, because he's just kind of chugging along. And but I think that's why he never would get run over, because he's got that wide base, big frame, and he's got a nose for the net. I mean, of the 800 and whatever the number is in goals, how many of them? I know there's the power play goals.
Yep.
But he gets to the front of the net and he finds rebounds, and he's heavy on his stick. So obviously he's hard to handle once he gets interior, mainly because of his determination to score goals.
My favorite goal he's ever scored is the one where he was falling down in the behind, and because it just shows a desperation to make a play regardless of what position he's in. And
I don't know if is it to make a play or just get it on net, because I love to score goals.
Both.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a ridiculous thing that he even scored on that, but it just shows that he has sort of a singular focus of, even if he's lying down sideways, he's still trying to put the puck on net.
And that was early in his career.
Very
right?
early, yeah.
It kind of defined who he is and how he plays and the hunger he has to score goals and do whatever it takes. So, I mean, he's a joy to watch. I preferred watching him, obviously, when he was a little bit younger, because of how hard and the people that he would run over. And
he doesn't seem to have that same engine now as he's getting closer to 40.
I think it's a good thing, because the wear and tear on his body as he gets older. So, but again, it seems like right now there is life without Ovi, and if he comes back and they're not deferring a lot to him all the time, this team is only going to get better with him back in the lineup.
All right, let's take a look at the lineups here. We start, of course, with the Dallas Stars forward group. Same group. Hasn't been a change in a while. They've been, knock on wood, staying healthy, and they've also been avoiding the flu, at least enough to be able to play. And as you look at that group, again, I'm going to circle Logan Stankoven, because I talked to Logan this morning, Luds, and he has now not scored in 12 games, a goal. He has 2 assists in that span. He has had a ton of chances, and when I talked to him this morning, he admitted it. He didn't shy away from it. He said, yeah, it has been frustrating. He goes, I'm determined to not let this get away the rest of my game. I still want to be a good 200-foot player, play hard defensively, skate hard. We see that, right? All the evidence shows that he does that, but he is shocked. He said, if you remember in the St. Louis game, he had a lot of scoring chances. He had, I think, 7. One of them was Dodonov made a pass to the left side where he had a one-timer. And Stankoven said, there are certain shots where you just know it's going in. And he said, that one, I thought that was going to be a goal.
Yeah.
He goes, and the last second, Binnington flashes out, he goes, he made a great save. But you just feel like when a guy, there's 2 types of players in this way. One who's going through it and just like, oh, I'm so discouraged. He's frustrated, but he's not down about it. And what I mean is that he's not letting it bring him down, but he's acknowledging that it is frustrating, but he's still playing with the same energy.
I think he knows the same thing the coach knows, is that, we want him to score, but he brings so much more to the game and to the team and the way that he plays the game that it's going to come. He's probably going to have to get that ugly goal. He's going to get a rebound goal. He's going to get one being in front of the net that some defenseman, he can't box him out, and it's going to go off of his skate and in the net, and that's probably going to get him going. But to me, he just doesn't have the makeup of a player that's going to get discouraged by a puck not going into the net. Now, you can understand it from a Tyler Seguin, a Robertson, the goal scorers, the guys that are pure goal scorers. You can see them getting down because they don't probably bring as much from the energy side and the digging around and going to the front of the net that like Stankoven does.
So I'm working my computer over here because Sam just sent us a text, and it's the lines for the warm-up. Look at our defense now, and then we'll give you an update. This is what we thought we'd see.
I'll give you one better, Owen.
Oh, are you going to put the tweet?
Do you see that smoke coming off my keyboard over there?
I do. Your fingers were flying.
There we are.
Look at that. He updated it. So Harley was not out there for the warm-up. We knew that he was dealing with the flu. So the lines, or the D pairs, look like Bichsel with Heiskanen, Lindell and Lundkvist, and Brendan Smith with Ilya Lyubushkin. And in a weird way, like you don't like to see Thomas Harley out of the lineup, but this kind of fits. What do you think?
Oh, I mean, it looks like you have three groups here where you've got some balance in them. And I would say, with Bichsel and Heiskanen together, I just wonder if they're going to try to put him against the Dubois line. And if they've got Protas on there and Wilson, and because you have Bichsel on that line, and you've got the size of Protas, and you've got the straight ahead kind of play of Wilson, that to me, I mean, because again, yeah, Strome is probably their top line, but I just wonder how it's going to be curious to me to see how they match up Miro tonight, because obviously, we've seen Miro play against the top line all the time, which would probably be the Strome line. Although I think them first two lines, I think you can kind of pick either one of them or pick them out of a hat.
Let's show those lines, John. Nope, not those lines. Nope, there we go. So Connor McMichael actually leads them in scoring, but he's tied with Ovechkin at 15 goals. He's been good. Protas, along with Dubois and Wilson, are the one that really I'm zeroing in on because, look, yeah, Dylan Strome's a good player, really good player, and he's their number one center. But as much as you look at that, you're right, it's kind of interchangeable. Tom Wilson is having a heck of a season. And I had this conversation, Luds, with John Walton today, and I said, like, he's having a great year. And he goes, it was really a shame at the beginning of his career. He came out of Plymouth in the OHL, and he played all 82 games his first full season, but he had like 170 penalty minutes. And it's because of the group they had in front of him, he was playing a fourth line role. And so he got sort of tabbed as, well, he's a fighter, tough guy. That's all he has. And he goes, he was always a better, more skilled player than the initial impression, which kind of stuck with him for his whole career.
Well, like a Wilson that plays that way, and we've seen him fight, and he can fight. He can hold his own, and he's in the heavyweight category. I don't know if he's actually a heavyweight, but he's right there. I just think that when he is that player game after game, and you know who he is, and he's got a loose screw sometimes, so he can snap. You get more space. You get more space. You get a little more time. He's got a great shot. So there's a lot of things there. That's why I just wonder tonight that for me, and again, it's tough to say that you want to take a young kid and a rookie guy and put him up against a Tom Wilson, because he's a lightning rod for their team too. I mean, if you're going to let him get out there and kind of manhandle a bunch of guys, that's what they want. And he's a guy that doesn't care if he's on the road or he's at home. So this may be the perfect, and again, another test for Bichsel in game 3, but we'll see. I don't know what that has to do with Miro, but if it's because they're going to try to match up against that line, why not have Bichsel out there against two big guys that are, 6'2" and 230, 40 pounds?
John, put up the forward group for Washington again, if you would, please, because we are learning from Bailey Johnson, who's the beat writer. She covers the Capitals for the Washington Post. Andrew Mangiapane is out tonight with an illness. That's news from warm-up. It didn't happen this morning. And so originally, Jacob Vrana was coming in after being healthy scratch for the last 10 games, hasn't played since late November. And Hendrix Lapierre was going to come out of the lineup. Well, now he's going to stay in because with Mangiapane out, Lapierre will play on the right with Eller and Vrana on the left. So both teams dealing with illnesses that are flying around the NHL in the wintertime with the travel. That's just something you have to deal with. But now look at their defense. And Luds, they have two guys in the top 10 in defensive scoring in Chychrun and Carlson. And they are very, very good to lead the way. And Rasmus Sandin, now they're not playing together. I had that wrong because Faravari is going to play with Carlson, Chychrun with Van Riemsdyk, and then Sandin and Roy play together. But they've got an offensive guy on all three of their pairings.
I like Sandin too.
Yeah.
Tall guy, plays well. Chychrun's got 9 goals, I think it is now, and Carlson, leads that team in shots, and he can get the puck through, and he's got a bomb for a shot. I mean, I think that's why the power play when OV was there kind of got a little bit better, because all of a sudden they were kind of setting him up for the one-timer. Now all of a sudden, do you take Ovi or do you take Carlson? So, but anyway, we don't have to worry about Ovi tonight. But yeah, I think, and like you said earlier tonight before we got started, if they're chasing the game a little bit, they may put Chychrun and Carlson together.
And of course, you saw the goaltenders at the bottom. It's Charlie Lindgren. This is the rare duo where both goalies for Washington are right catch, or some guys call them funny-sided because it's not the normal, right? Most the common goalie is the catch with the left hand, hold the blocker, and the stick with the right. Well, Lindgren from Lakeville, Minnesota, went to Lakeville North High School.
That's where I used to live when I was there too.
Older than Jake Oettinger, but the families know each other. Jake said this morning that Charlie's younger brother Ryan he's friends with. He's closer in age, but you get two Lakeville, Minnesota natives going head to head. Always a fun storyline. We didn't get that last time because DeSmith got the start, but we're going to get it tonight.
Yeah, just like we always see. There's always little storylines in here, and so I don't know if the Lakeville thing has that much to do with it, but we'll see too. Lindgren's having a great season up to now too, and obviously Jake is too. So, and again, this isn't. I don't see this being a 6-5 game tonight. I don't. I see it being one of them, 3-2, 4-3 games, and we'll see how it works out on the power play though for these two teams tonight.
So that's where we go. We've got players out for both teams with illness. We've got a big injury in Tyler Seguin, a big injury with Alex Ovechkin. Ovi's much closer. Probably within a week or so, he might be back in the lineup. Spencer Carberry said this morning that he's got to get back to playing full contact, get the no-contact jersey off through practice before they have a game. They play tomorrow in Chicago. Well, Dallas has tonight and then plays Wednesday at home against Toronto as part of their homestand. So it should be a fun one. Stars have dominated the Caps in their all-time season series history, but they lost the first game this year, so they're going to try to get a little revenge. Best road team in the league versus the best home team coming up tonight. Thanks for watching. We'll see you for the post game right after Stars and Caps.
I believe that they are going to crush these guys tonight.
We all silly like the mayor.